So I've got two guests ready to join us here. I've got Agne, who you met earlier in our chat with Hasib and Peter. And we've also got Elena, the CEO of METIS, who has joined us today. Now, I've got first of all, the Russian female names, so beautiful. I love the end, how it's different, male and female, but I have trouble pronouncing them. So pardon me if I've skipped over your last names. No problem with the first names, and pardon me, Agna. I'm not sure if your name is actually Russian. It might be something totally different. Probably Polish.
It's Lithuanian, but
Lithuanian. Okay, Lithuanian. There you go. But nevertheless, I have the same problem, so it sort of applies to the whole area, Germany included. Germany included. Even though my name is German. There you go.
Well,
so today we're going to be.
The Greeks beat us at the names.
One more time.
The Greeks beat us at the names.
Yeah, no, I don't even start. There's too many syllables. What are they thinking? Like, you could cut half the name out, most of those Greek names, and it would still be a name. Like, it would still have multiple syllables, and you could read it. This is a small total side note, but I think it's funny. There was a baseball general manager whose name was very similar to Andreas Antonopoulos. And I wrote a report for the government of Canada on, Bitcoins and stuff like that many years ago. And I had actually put, instead of Antonopoulos, Anthopoulos, which was the name of this baseball general manager, throughout the whole report. And I only noticed it, and no one had noticed because it was, it's probably 5 letters difference, but it sounds the exact same. So we caught it at the last minute, but neither here nor there. So great. Today we're going to be talking about optimism, reasons to be optimistic for Ethereum, and the L2 optimism piece. First of all, that is one piece that we just want to talk about from the beginning, right? Optimism, right? It's sort of like an emotional word. Why do we use the word optimism to talk about the L2 piece, right? So there's a reason for that, and it's not just about a word that I like to use called persuasion. It's a little bit like priming someone to understand something, right? Where you put a context and then they'll just sort of agree with it. And that's what I worry optimism is, but it isn't actually that, right? So I'm worried that optimism is sort of a way to put a positive emotional spin on a thing, even though it's a technical piece. So I just want to start with you, Agne, just about that optimistic piece and what it means, and why it's not really about emotions that we're talking about. What is it about optimistic rollups that allow us to at once use the word and what does it signify? Oh, you're muted.
1 second. Yes. Mm-hmm. Sure. I totally agree with you that we can have a couple of meanings for that. So here in this case, we're talking about optimistic rollups. So for a simple user or for a regular listener, we have rollups. So rollups are basically, this is how you roll up the transactions and put them on a layer 2. That's what we call it, rollups. So we have optimistic rollups, and then we have zero knowledge rollups. And optimistic rollups are, in this case, is then when you withdraw back from layer 2 back to Ethereum mainnet, you're sort of optimistic that nobody has committed any fraud. And so there is this 7-day period for someone to challenge that. So we're saying that optimistic rollups, that we're optimistic in the way that nobody has submitted a fraudulent transaction. Whereas in zero knowledge rollups, there's a cryptography already involved. That's why you can withdraw straight away from layer 2 back to layer 1 without this waiting period. So here we are talking about the optimistic rollups. However, as you mentioned, there is another element or another angle we can look why to be optimistic about Ethereum. So Ethereum in general, what should we be optimistic about this as a network? What does it promise us? What kind of future can we see? So I would say maybe we should discuss both sides, especially in light of Vitalik Buterin's endgame piece, which he wrote. And so he was actually saying that no single rollup can handle the whole transactions on Ethereum. He was talking about a multi-rollup future, frontier staking, various complicated stuff. But I think why should we be optimistic about Ethereum is that it's really the only truly decentralized blockchain. this is what blockchains are about. You know, it's censorship. It's so distributed, and the system is so complex that at the end game, at the end point, as Vitalik said, anyone can have access. Anyone can deploy. Hopefully in a relatively small fee, a smart contract, and that can enable whether right now, yes, you can create an app, you can upload it on Google app or App Store and stuff, but it is censored, right? So you have to be approved. And what Ethereum as a blockchain gives us to be optimistic about, resistant economy that is accessible to anyone that has access to internet.
Great. So I definitely just want to make sure we separate the optimism of the protocol with optimistic rollups and make sure that everyone understands we're talking about two separate things. And indeed, optimistic rollups really is just about another way would be call them like the benefit of the doubt or benefit of the doubt rollup. We'll check it in a few days and but for now, I think like as Asiba said, it's like your inspection of a house where you expect the house to be in a certain condition. You would be stupid not to check, and you definitely need the tool to be able to revoke, but it's certainly important. So Elena, welcome.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So certainly, we've separated optimistic rollups to optimism and future of Ethereum. Now, of course, there's a certain malaise that has set in recently, for lack of a better word, fighting new challengers that came around Ethereum, Solana, Near. We've heard a lot about Polygon and all the Binance Smart Chain, of course, comes up all the time. So lots of competition going on. And, Ethereum had, let's call it a early lead, right? They were much older than a lot of these other programs, smart contract platforms. And I guess the malaise happened when folks said, well, we've had this big lead, so many people did really well. We have all these inventions, they've been out, conceptually for a while. Why are other chains getting momentum, right? So that's am I wrong? Have I painted a fair enough picture here?
It is true. Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's kind of the context, right? Now, we see the certain amount of tension, and then of course Vitalik writes what I thought was a pretty interesting piece this week, describing the end game and those design decisions that can go into this the next little bit here. So just commenting on first of all, competition. What do you think about that? What do you see in that? And is it good? Is it a winner take all? Is it a scarcity mindset? Can there be a million chains, right? There's no right answer. But I just want to hear a bit about how you've sort of thought about the past few months and how you see the next, this inflection point.
Oh, thank you, Nolan. This is a very kind of like, that's a good subject to discuss. Of course, it would be great to discuss with, all the participants on the panel, but here we are, Ethereum fans here discussing without, any Solana or Near or, other chains. But what, like my opinion, again, and what blockchain is about and what it gave us is the decentralization. That's the kind of like, because blockchain itself, it is a database. It's just the way to store data. It's a data storage. That's what it is basically. And there are all other, and that's why it is a chain. So it could be supported by decentralized parties, right? So it's decentralized, but supported by the people in the world, no matter who they are, where they are, and where they're located. So now, when we talking about other blockchains that doing it differently, of course, they find their niche and their audience, otherwise they would not exist. And Ethereum challenge is the main challenge, is actually decentralization. And the main value is also decentralization. So that's the chain that follows it through being a true blockchain, true decentralized chain. Because when we stop being decentralized, it becomes cheaper, it becomes easy to build, no brainer, right? But might as well use SQL database, or other databases. Why not? Because they are faster, they're more scalable, they're easy to support, they're cheaper. But people use blockchain for the purpose because they want this decentralization aspect, and that's what Ethereum is all about, and that's where it is heading. And that's what optimistic rollups is also about, because they are based on Ethereum. They inherit the security of this decentralization, because decentralization provides the ultimate security, because there is no single point of failure there. It's not dependent on one company, on one party that can fail for some reasons, right? So therefore, Ethereum cannot fail because it's decentralized. Other ones, there is a question about it, right? So at some point, they might, right? So people, when they are trusting their money to the centralized body, have to understand that risk. When they trust in money to Ethereum, they understand that is their own risk. They are in charge of their money, but the system is completely decentralized, and that's what we can trust. Same for optimistic rollups. Though I can tell you, like one of the creator of the optimistic rollup, METIS, I can tell you that it is a huge, huge challenge to actually build the system with this decentralized mindset, because it's hard to build, it's long, and it's not cheap, right? So, and these are the challenges. We could go the easy route, but because we have this decentralization also in mind, we go in and building and step by step, and we're going to get there. So this is my opinion, and it's not kind of like the competition. Again, all other chains, sub-chains, they find their own audience, and right now they have their own niche. It might evolve in the future, how it's going to be, doesn't matter. But right now we're comparing apples and oranges. We're comparing centralized databases with decentralized blockchains. So this is what it is about.
Mm-hmm. So I like that. So my mental model, I always sort of separate Bitcoin from everything else. Bitcoin's inherent nature to be very secure, very, not risky, right? Because it still is sort of the foundation of everything, and Bitcoin has never been an experimental platform, basically because, when we're dealing with cryptography, we've always got to think of what adversaries are going to do and what our risks are. And it's kind of an unfair fight because, you have to think of everything someone's going to do before they do it and protect yourself from it, right? So mm-hmm. I always separate the cautiousness of the Bitcoin protocol from everything else for that reason. And, I was always drawn in the early days to Ethereum because it could experiment and because we could take some chances. And it was a bit more of a not playground, but a bit more of a place where it was sort of okay to make a mistake, right? Because nobody knew, right? Nobody knows yet what is best and things like that. What I see almost organically happening is that you've got Ethereum now that led this sort of experimentation, but you've got other chains that are sort of plugging into it. So it's almost like a poor man's sharding to begin with. So it's already along the vision of how Ethereum was going to scale even a little while ago, right? So that, but not according to plan exactly, right? Not exactly according, but directionally true, right? Directionally sort of what people thought would happen in the early days. But I wonder, with Bitcoin being so cautious, right, on one end, but some development still happening. And with Ethereum having everyone else sort of leech off of its breakthroughs and understandings, and even in some cases its security, right? Does this create a world where Ethereum is like squeezed, right? Is there a squeeze, right? Or does that aspect of, it's decentralized and it has participants all over the world, will that just help it stay in the middle? It's either squeezed or it's the center, is I guess what I'm saying, right? It's the center of activity or it's getting squeezed. So how do you think about that? Is that an accurate assessment? Is that something that you think about?
I think with Ethereum, it's a part of the plan because Ethereum relies on the community a lot, right? So, and then bringing this community to build different scalable solutions. And I see like right now, we have tons of layer twos, and it's very, very exciting me that they are coming up. They all have different value propositions, different flavors, they perform differently. Some of them are centralized, some of them are decentralized, but all of them, so like all of us, I would say, we're going to go to the common goal, right? So we all help to scale Ethereum, right? So on the way, we can scale other blockchains too, like who knows? Because almost, I mean, I cannot say that almost everybody is EVM compatible now, but majority of people trying to be EVM compatible.
Even the ones that say they're not.
Exactly. So it tells something. It tells something. If they're trying to be EVM compatible, I mean that they're in that market too. Yes. So we all gonna go. All are going to the common goal, and this is part of the big Ethereum vision, and that's what Vitalik actually confirmed with the end game article as well. So that this is yes and cool, and the latest the EIP like it's 8844. The one that he did for the optimistic rollups. So now for the optimistic rollups, of course, transaction is going to be cheaper with this one. And so all part of the plan.
Mm-hmm. Great,
seems like I'm guessing again. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, there are. I don't think there are right answers, right? Mm-hmm. That's kind of what we're here to talk about. And you know, I continue to like anchor in on this idea that, you know, we've, as an industry, have figured out so many design questions, and the few questions that are remaining are the answers to the few design and engineering questions remaining are the pathway to the billion users a day and a billion active users doing all kinds of things. That's to me, you know, it's not just about brands signaling that they're using stuff and issuing stuff and getting into it. It's more that the capacity is there for all people to be able to transact. And that's where, you know, if those design decisions are solved, we'll be able to realize that world, you know, shortly. Mm-hmm. Now, Agne, what I'm wondering is, you know, the same idea, we have these design decisions, and it's a similar question to what I just asked. It is, you know, but a little bit different, right? Consumers are the ones making the decisions, right? So consumers are sort of flooding different blockchains. Now, it has a lot to do with price, right? It has a lot to do with fees. It has a lot to do with the simple choice. So they make a decision, and we start to see even developers. So to me, the greatest feature, I think what I just heard as well, the greatest feature of Ethereum is the nature of the developers all around the world, the number of them, like it dwarfs, I think, every other platform. I'm not sure, but my anecdotal understanding from both activity on GitHub and number of projects and etc., it is by far the largest supply of developers. But there's a lesson they're learning too, which is, you know, put your protocol on another chain because someone else will just copy it. It's sort of the inherent nature of open source technology regularly, that it can be copied and pasted and deployed elsewhere. So I guess the question is then, you know, Ethereum in the middle, right? Everything connecting to it. Users still, even if they're on other platforms, sort of making a choice. What do you see in that decision of users, right? What do the decisions of users have to look forward to be optimistic about Ethereum? And are there other reasons why they would switch, right? Are there reasons why they would be somewhere else?
Sure. So very interesting question, actually. And I was thinking, who is the user that we're talking about? Mm-hmm. Is it someone who's buying a coin, expecting it to raise? Is it somebody who's trading? Is it somebody doing DeFi? Is it yield farming? Most likely we're talking about these kind of users. These are the crypto users, really, more or less. But then the vision of Ethereum is going towards digital economy, right? So what is digital economy? It's transacting between each other. It's, you know, organizing yourselves in tribes. So we have DAOs right now. It's companies, which will not be companies called companies anymore. It will be decentralized, autonomous companies. And that is why I'm excited about what METIS is doing. So METIS is extending this vision of Ethereum by enabling for people to organize themselves and to actually have tools to do that. So if Elena could tell a little bit more about decentralized autonomous companies vision, which I actually tried it myself, and I will not announce it yet, but I think it's super exciting what anyone can do. I can go right now on METIS, open my own decentralized company. I can invite people to stake with me. I can have a vision to do whatever I want. So this is freedom. Elena, can I invite you to say a few more words?
Oh, thank you, Agne. Yes, so this is, and that's why we built METIS in the first place, not only a layer 2 solution. So layer 2 solution came on the way because we couldn't do it on layer 1, honestly. So yes, that's why we built our own layer 2 in order to do what Agnes said, in order to give people the stage to build their own decentralized businesses the way they want. So this is something that is embedded into our tech, and we provided all the scalability for this project. So our projects are not in the one chain, they're not interfering with each other. So as soon as the new company, you can create the new one, you join, it will be the new chain rolled up for you inside METIS. And this is also the decentralized model, right? So we're not now, all the projects not depending on each other, they're on chain. Transactions are getting committed through the pool of sequencers. Full decentralization model is mandated, but now it's opened up the way for people who never used blockchain ever to actually come create a company and be right there on a blockchain with the whole community, leverage from all the projects, use their tech, use their dApps. We have right now on METIS, different developers are creating templates of the smart contracts that people can have no experience in creating smart contracts. They actually can reuse these templates in just one click of a button, right? So it creates the whole world of possibility. Plus, we can mix and match different business models. You can create your company with a membership. You can create the ownership. You can create nonprofits. You can create a charity. You can create pretty much anything, and you create the different levels: gold, silver. Sell it to different people, and this is all very scalable and right on the blockchain as well. So that is the beauty of what we're building in METIS right now, and we're very, very excited right now. And we're talking to now big Web2 companies. I'm going to let you in a little bit with the airlines, with the gaming companies that are very excited about that model. So more to come. But yeah, so we've been live for just a few weeks now. We're doing really well on L2Bit. You can see our stats and the TVL and everything. But yeah, come check us out at metis.io like Agne did, and you will not be disappointed.
Yeah, I like I think Agne put us on the right track here by mentioning about the user, because it's true that my mindset was still sort of stuck when I was asking that question about trader preference. And of course, traders just care about maker and taker fees, and they just want to get those down. But what you're saying is there's this whole other user profile that needs all these other dexterous tools. And I tend to agree with you, right? It goes sort of from, you can even see in the human capital that has come into blockchains from the start. Sort of the early time was the traders, because they were the first people to get it. It was the first sort of use case. And then you could see the artists and the NFT people come right when ERC 1171 came out. Then you had all these new folks that were, NFTs weren't new to anyone who was in Ethereum for years now. They were clearly coming. And so we already sort of see this whole vertical now that is mature and professional and running commercial scales. And I think what you're suggesting and anticipating is much more human coordination and sort of another layer coming in, another whole group of users. And if you get that human coordination, that's where you start impacting, like you said, Web2 companies and sort of, the companies that do need us as an industry to be able to handle 1 billion users transacting daily.
Exactly. So yeah. So first, so as you said, the first developer. So you had to be a developer to actually go and build something. Nowadays, it's still, even if you would like to create NFTs, you need to dig and through the information how to do it. People are doing it using different layer 2s because it's expensive on Ethereum. So there is this certain barrier. Yes, to lower that barrier, to give people access to log in with their username and password, but still going to be this is account on the blockchain, still create their own company on the blockchain, but just, clicking the buttons. This is something that we envision is going to kick the adoption.
And that's that let's say convergence of engineering, right? So once that blueprint is ready, once that blueprint has been proven, you're going to see people copy it. Is that what you're anticipating? Basically, get it right, and we can see how other blockchains interact with Ethereum. But as long as the first few examples of 1 billion users deployed using Ethereum scaling solutions are realized, then the ultimate prize for all the developers in all these incumbent companies are there, and they're going to say, that's what we're going to do.
Yes, and it's not only, but it's also inventing new business models that we don't even right now even think about, right? So people will think. It's just for us to provide them this infrastructure, kind of like a constructor to build from. So that is the purpose. But people, or I believe in people, they will make it work.
Yeah, and that was where I was limited when I first asked that question, because the idea was users being, in this case, traders, and they have only a certain set of interests, and of course cheap equals better, but that isn't the trade-off for any type of, or every type of group of people that can join. So hearing about DAOs and things like that, and the question is for you, Agne, how can DAOs leverage some of these DEXs and other, I think Elena just briefly sort of hinted to it, that you can start a company and the company can transact and interact. How do those pieces work together in your mind?
So DAO, I think according to a definition, decentralized autonomous organization, let's try to put the definition. It's a set of rules that is being coordinated in smart contracts. So everything is executed by the computer, right? And so obviously we have people at these sense that interact within each other. Maybe we have products, there's some sort of a business relationship going on, and everything is set not according to one guy, so one executive says that, but a smart contract sets out the rules, how it's being done. And also why DAOs are powerful is that they give the power of voice to all the DAO members. Or it could be not to all the DAO members. It could be to delegated DAO members. So to extend my thought, I want to open up another topic which we didn't touch: metaverse. So on metaverse, people will not come trade tokens. They will come to build real estate, buy land, open companies, marketing companies, everything that we see right now in the real world. This will be on metaverse. So how are we going to do this? Only through blockchain, only through layer 2, or maybe other layers, multi-layers. So I think that we have to open up our vision a little bit more to understand where are we going. It's not only about the cheap fees. Of course, it's about accessibility. It's all about education, but we're going to another level of enabling, let's say, simple people to enter this digital world. Yeah.
Great. And so last thought for you, Elena, just on the idea of business models, because you guys have to anticipate these, right? You've got to, can't guess, you've got to leave it open enough to happen organically. But what do you see as an exciting way for these things to deploy that we'll know is a sign that we've reached another era?
Right now, again, we are having conversation with Web2 companies playing different ideas. Right now, one of the ideas was to involve the metaverse. And we're look at metaverse for the metaverse to pilot it on, to have a playground for people to build their own startups. Because in the modern world, it's kind of like very hard to build your own startup, especially from the beginning. So if you provided this infrastructure of that you build the company, and then using the hints from other teams, what you should do right now. You should develop your community, you should run this, you should do that and this, so people can actually start building their companies in the metaverse, and maybe that evolve into businesses. So this is like one of the ideas. There are like many other ideas. Web2 projects, they came to us and say like, oh, we would like to crowdfund some of the projects, how we can do so. This could be leveraged through, again, this decentralized autonomous company structure that are going to query to the whole Ethereum ecosystem. So who would like to contribute into the project so can get the dividends or something like that. So many ideas are floating around. So we're going to keep you posted of what this is going to be. Of course, NFT, lots of ideas with the NFT usage of NFTs. You can distribute the rewards and the tickets and this and that using this business model. But yeah, it's very exciting constructor that we're building right now, and so I'm looking forward how it all evolves.
Wonderful, everyone. Well, that's the end of this session, team. Thanks so much for joining. I'm learning a lot today. It's great.
And thank you being an awesome moderator, Nolan.
We're doing our best. We're doing our best. Thanks for your time, everyone. I'm going to be turning it over now to Alvin again.